Welcome to the Alpine Property Podcast with your hosts, me, Steve Thomas.
And myself, Lesley Thomas.
We are the husband and wife team behind Alpine Property Investments, helping clients to find their dream property in the mountains of France and Switzerland.
The aim of this podcast is to share with you everything to do with purchasing a ski property, including the where, what, why, and how to buy.
With real insider information that comes from knowing the mountains as intimately as we do. To us, this is not just a business, but a real demonstration of helping clients invest in lifestyle.
We want this podcast to be your go-to place for all things buying and owning a ski property. Welcome to the latest episode of the Alpine Property Podcast. Today is, in fact, the last episode of this winter season. And to finish off in style, we have another guest episode. Helen Keast hails from Somerset in the UK, where she lives with her husband and 2 teenage children. She works as an independent food safety auditor and consultant in the food manufacturing industry. She and her husband purchased an apartment in Les Sybelles in September 2024. Welcome to the podcast, Helen. It's really good to have you here.
Thank you.
So the very first question I want to jump in with is, what made you want to purchase a property in the mountains?
Well, it was definitely all about the winter to begin with. So skiing has become a sort of part of our family holidays, although I did only start skiing in 2018. So kind of came to it kind of quite late in life. I didn't grow up doing it. And I'm certainly not a brilliant skier by any kind of stretch, but I do love it. So anyway, I love being in the mountains. Just decided that was something we wanted to look into.
And it's interesting because I also came to skiing very late. I was 32 when I started, but I've discovered the more lessons I had, the worse I've got. So I've actually hung up my skis and I've retired. So when we met each other last year outside your apartment, that was me just accompanying the boys and being the chief cook, basically, because I'm no longer a skier. So you've given me hope, I think, that the fact that you don't have to pick up your first set of skis age 5 in order to be a competent skier. So thank you for that initial sense of hope there. So as far as Les Sybelles and Les Sybelles is concerned, what made you choose to buy there?
Well, I hadn't heard of it until I started listening to Steve's podcasts. I certainly hadn't heard of the area. I guess I started, thinking of some of our favourite destinations. So as a family, I particularly love Tignes Val d'Isère. I love the size of the area, the fact that you can sort of travel, go into different villages, that type of thing. But I kind of realistically knew that for my budget, buying there wasn't going to be an option. So, it was really listening to Steve's podcast that was the kind of inspiration, because I wasn't aware of Les Sybelles at all. And I kind of couldn't believe there was such a large interconnected ski area that I genuinely never heard of. But once I started looking at the piste map, look at the scale, and there was lots of villages, I was kind of sort of, started to become interested in that sort of area.
And it's really interesting because I'm sure you'll have heard Steve say on the podcast and subsequently say to you that the whole of the Les Sybelles area is very much, a hidden gem. And we always say a hidden gem outside of France, when actually we have a new client that's purchased through us this season who is French, who had never heard of Les Sybelles either.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And given the size of the ski domain and given, the quality of the snow and the quality of the resorts, etc., it is interesting how hidden it is. Starting to become less so now, clearly, but it is interesting that it's only by Steve talking about it has its popularity actually, or has it as a resort become known, basically, and its popularity actually grown as well. So how long had you been searching for a property before you found the one?
Well, I think it all happened fairly quickly for us, actually. To be honest, I didn't really start thinking about it until the beginning of 2024. And actually, I started looking initially kind of on paper at Vaujany. So I'd never been there, and it sounded like a good village, and prices were sort of reasonable compared to some of the outdoors. So that was kind of really where my starting point was. And then I'd also listened to Steve talking about Vaujany, and it did sound quite appealing. So that was kind of where I kind of started. Also listening to Steve talking about Les Sybelles, and I just kept sort of going back to again, like you say, the fact I hadn't heard of such a big ski area. So anyway, 2014, I did quite a lot of armchair research, lots of information, online meetings with Steve, and also did speak to another couple of agents as well. I didn't actually contact Steve until May 2024. And then by the time June 2024 came round, I'd already kind of narrowed in quite a lot. So we came out, we had a look at La Tizouière. We also looked at a couple of other places, one of the outlying villages in the La Plaine area, and also something in Saint Charvis de Ban area. So yeah, that was all kind of quite quickly in the in sort of May, June, 2024.
And I hear you had quite an experience coming up to the resort when you first came to visit it.
Yeah, well, yes, it was actually the second time. So we came out in June, saw the apartment, and then we came back out in August. And that time I actually came out with my teenage daughter, just the two of us, to meet the developer and just, agree on the last few bits. So anyway, flew into Geneva, got a hire car, had a bit of an incident driving up from from the bottom, and ended up with quite a bad puncture on the side of the road. So anybody that knows that road, going up, it's, quite twisty, very pretty. And we're stuck on the side of a road, waiting, for a tow truck. So, a quick phone call to the rental agency. They did sort me out. We were waiting on the side of the road for a little bit until the tow truck arrived. I have to say it was absolutely lovely when that tow truck did arrive, because it was just me and my daughter on the side of the road. And then when the female mechanic got out to pick us up, it was just such a lovely feeling, to being rescued, taken back down, got the tyre fixed. It was a bit of a story.
A bit of an experience. And I must admit, in all the years I've been doing this, never had that experience, fortunately. We've had tyres needing replacement, but actually having been in the car park overnight. So quite what happened there, but that happened twice in the same car park. So we know what it's like to have to wait on the rescue services to come and, in our case, replace the tyres. In your case, actually get you back up to resort, basically.
Yes.
So how did you find the whole process of buying off plan?
It was fairly quick and fairly easy. I think, as I've already said, we went out in June, and the next visit in August. And actually, for us, we got ownership in September. The first time we went out to the apartment, it was pretty much finished, which was lovely. It all happened fairly quickly. And then I took another quick trip out in October just to kind of collect the keys, although the official ownership started in September. So it was all far kind of smoother and more quickly than, I would have expected.
And I think that surprised lots of people, is how quickly and how smoothly the process can go, even when you are, remote back in the UK, because so much of the process now, that is one of the benefits, I think, of COVID, is that the French legal system effectively went online. So you no longer have to go and see a notary in your country of residence to sign POA documentation, etc. You can literally utilize the online system now from a legal perspective. That does make the whole process a lot smoother, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So you have now had your apartment. This is coming into your second ski season. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. Middle of the second ski season.
So how does it now feel to own an apartment in Les Sybelles?
Yeah, no, I absolutely love it. So in the first year we went out in December 24. We went out for that first week of the ski season. So that was really exciting. And then we kind of went back out in March in March, then 25, which was when I bumped into you and Steve when you were out there. So actually then I spent nearly 2 weeks out there. So that was kind of really, was really special. Yeah. So, no, I do like it.
And how do the children feel about mum and dad having an apartment in the French Alps?
Yeah, I think particularly my son, he absolutely loves skiing. So we've actually been out there, just the two of us, together, which is really nice, to sort of share something with your teenage son, that love of skiing together. So, that's been special. And I've also been out there, in just me and my daughter as well as kind of, going out there as a whole family. So no, it's really good.
And how has the resort of Les Sybelles lived up to expectations?
It's definitely lived up to expectations. I mean, I would describe the area as kind of like, an area to ski, not a massive area to party, which, suits me kind of perfectly. I mean, there's still plenty of places to enjoy a drink after skiing, but, it's not wild nightlife. And I think what I love about Les Sybelles is just that snow front. So that bit right outside, right outside the apartment, sitting there with a drink in the sunshine. It's just got such a lovely atmosphere there, hasn't it?
I agree. And I think that's the whole thing, isn't it? It's got such a lovely family atmosphere, but it also, it has the lovely restaurants, it has the bars, it has the cinema, it has the bowling alley, it has so much to offer. And, I am, as I mentioned, I'm no longer a skier. So for someone like me to be able to enjoy a week, 2 weeks at the resort, even though I don't ski, the fact that the snow front is so easily accessible to everybody, I can easily wander up, meet the boys, catch a ski lift and head up to, the restaurant at the top and get to enjoy the scenery from that perspective. Even though I'm not a skier, Steve and the boys clearly are. So I like that element as well, that if a member of the family isn't a skier, then they don't have to feel left out, basically.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's the whole area as well. We've spoken about Les Sybelles, but actually in the whole area, Saint-Salan definitely deserves a mention, So when we were out there in April, temperatures were rising, but actually you go over there where there's a slightly higher ski area and conditions were still really good, even though it was really hot. It was really hot, and we were getting a suntan. It is the conditions were good, and Saint-Salan, it's beautiful, isn't it? And for anyone knows it, those two like slope side restaurants as you ski down from the top from there. They're just like lovely. If you sit there and have a coffee, if you know Saint-Salan, you will know the two restaurants I mean. But if you haven't, if you go to the top and ski down, you literally can't miss them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is the beauty. You have, so many different places you can ski in Les Sybelles. You can easily get around the ski domain, and it offers you, such a variety of easier slopes for those who aren't so confident, and also the more challenging slopes for those who do like that extra challenge. So I think that both Les Sybelles and Saint-Salan offers something, and the ability to be able to enjoy both, even though you might choose to live in one over the other for, all sorts of different reasons, basically. Yeah. So as far as the summer months are concerned, what have you enjoyed about your time in the summer there?
So we spent some time there last summer. So my son, Alfie, and my husband, they did some mountain biking. So over in Le Corbier, there is a particular mountain bike run you can go down, so you can get the chairlift up with the mountain bikes, which is just really different, going up with your mountain bikes. I mean, I did do it once and that was enough, coming down on a mountain bike from the top. I'd much prefer to be on the set of skis. But they did it multiple times. My daughter gave it a go. She gave it a couple goes, actually. She was better than me, but so it was that was nice, and they enjoyed the mountain biking. I mean, I preferred, to be honest, sitting by the pool, so outside the apartment. So I think it's the La Marmotte's restaurant that's got a pool there that opens in the summer, and all you have to do is buy a drink and you can use their pool. So I was enjoying sitting there, in the sun, reading my book whilst they were off doing their mountain biking. So that was good in the summer. me and my daughter went to the CDH residences. You can go up there. You can use, if you book a massage, you can also use their like spa facilities. So we treated ourselves to a massage and then use their facilities in the summer. So yeah, that was lovely.
And I think
we went down to, we were about to say, we went down into Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne a couple of times while I was staying there. There was like a high ropes course down there, which is really challenging, like really physically challenging. We've done like lots of the, like, you know, Go Ape type things in the UK. Well, this was on a whole nother level with the physical, the physical challenge of that. It was great fun, but yeah, it was challenging. And we found a beautiful lake down there that it was lifeguarded. So it was like designed for swimming. So yeah, we did that as well. And then back up in La Trizrière, I quite enjoyed jogging. So I did some jogging whilst I was there, which is a lot more challenging than, where I go jogging in Somerset. Yeah. You just realise how far you cover on skis effortlessly. Whereas, when obviously jogging, you realise the kind of distances that you do cover.
Absolutely. And also, obviously, when you're skiing at altitude, you're having to take in more oxygen because the air, is thinner higher up. And I can remember when I first went for a run in Switzerland many, many years ago. And I was very fit then because I was doing 10-mile competitive runs, etc. And it was like I had hardly ever run before. So it is interesting how exercise can feel very different when you're higher up, but it's good for you and it allows you to enjoy all that cheese and all that wine without any guilt whatsoever. So what are some of your favourite places to go as far as eating and drinking are concerned, in Les Sybelles?
Yes. So I know on some of your previous podcasts, some places have been covered. So wanted to add some different ones. So my son does love a burger. So he likes Le Table de Grizzly. Don't know if I've said that quite right, but yeah, he loves a grizzly burger when he goes there. That's a definite, that's a definite winner. And we all like Les Alps. So we tended to go at the kind of beginning of the season, the end of the season, the summer, where maybe not all of the restaurants are open all of the time, but that one seems to be open, the longest, the fullest season. And it's got such a varied menu. So we've eaten there quite a lot and always had a good meal. The restaurant in the actual building where we've got our apartment, Les Sybelles, that's just got such beautiful, beautiful views of the piste and seeing those, those groomers working at night, I like that. I guess my last comment is a slightly more surprising one. It's a blue ice. So me and my daughter went there in April. We had the best tartiflette, that I've ever had there. And then when I got the bill, I looked at the white wine that I'd had and I really couldn't believe how cheap it was, what good value it was. I had kind of double checked the bill. So yeah, that was a particularly good meal we had there as well. But yeah, all of the restaurants are lovely. Have
you tried the thing that my youngest son in particular could not wait to try? The pizza machine.
No, we haven't tried it. We have looked at it a number of times, but no, we haven't tried it.
I don't know whether I recommend it or not, because he ordered 2 pizzas, one for himself and one for his brother, and one came out really well. The second one came out cold. I'm not sure if he's in a rush to actually try that experience again, I have to say. We're now going to take a quick break.
Welcome to the final property of the podcast of the 25-26 winter season. Here I want to tell you about a brand new project of 14 2 to 6 bedroom luxury south-facing apartments of 64 to 163 square metres and one 4-bedroom chalet of 138 square metres to be built in the centre of the very pretty dual-season resort of Châtel, located within the 650-kilometre Porte de Soleil ski domain. To be completed for the end of 2028, this new development being sold as a classic freehold residence without rental obligation for those that don't want to rent, a dedicated children's area with lounge, games room complete with video games, as well as a wellness area with sauna and gym will be available for residents to use. With spacious outdoor spaces and the option for some properties to enjoy an outdoor jacuzzi or sauna, as well as some coming with a fireplace in the living room, each apartment will come with their own underground parking, ski lockers and private cellar. Enjoying panoramic views towards Linga or across the valley toward Abondance, from the residence, the Super Chatel gondola is just a short 6-minute walk. With prices of apartments ranging from $740,000 to $2,150,000 and the chalet priced at $1,630,000. For more information on this outstanding, rare chance to own your own home in the centre of this highly sought-after village, please contact us via the details found in the show notes. And now, back to the podcast.
So I know you have experienced and particularly enjoyed the train travel to the resort. So tell me more, because I have not experienced that myself.
Yeah, so actually I emailed Steve listening to one of his other podcasts and just gave him a bit of information about the trains. And I was really pleased because Steve emailed me back and said that I taught him something, which for anyone that knows Steve, you know, he pretty much is like knows everything that there is to know.
Walking encyclopedia.
So I was quite pleased about that. So anyway, anyone that's listened or spoken to Steve or listened to your podcasts will know all about the improvements with the upcoming international high-speed train line. But the thing is, La Tesourière is already one of the easiest alpine resorts to reach by train, like right now. So we don't need to wait until that new line opens. So I've done it a couple of times. And honestly, I think it's the most relaxing way to travel. So when I've done it, I've taken a train. So I live in the southwest. So I've taken a train into London, Paddington, and then it's a quick tube change across to St Pancras. And then you need to arrive, you know, around an hour before your Eurostar. So then I've got the Eurostar from, I think it's like 9:34 from St Pancras, arriving into Paris Gare du Nord just before 1 p.m. So then you're in Paris Gare du Nord. So you need to take a quick, simple metro across Paris to Gare de Lyon. So people might be thinking that sounds, you know, a bit much. It's really quite easy. And I have to credit Ian Martin from the Ski Podcast and Ski Flight Free. I don't know if that's somebody you've ever come across, but he does great things about Ski Flight Free. And I watched his YouTube video and it explains, and you can watch that transfer he walks it so you can see what you need to do. So it makes it incredibly straightforward. So now you're in Paris, you've gone across from Gare du Nord to Gare de Lyon. I then allow plenty of time in Paris because there's fast trains that go down to Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne, but there's only a couple of days. So you really don't want to risk, missing one of those. Yeah. So allow a bit of time in Paris, have a bit of relax, have a bit of lunch. And then this is when you get what is already a really fast train. So it takes about 3 hours, 40 minutes. So there's a fast train. It leaves at about 10 to 3 in the afternoon and arriving you into Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne at just before 6:30. So it's a really comfortable way to travel. I have to say first class is only normally like 5 to 10 euros more than second class. Yeah. And it is just, you don't get like maybe any complimentary food like you might do if you travelled first class train in the UK, but the seats are huge and comfortable. So you just kind of sit back, you know, with a book and in my case, a glass of wine, and you kind of feel like that holiday, you know, has started. Yeah. Then when we get to Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne, I pre-book a taxi driver. So it's actually the lady taxi driver who helped me with that, that tyre incident back a couple of years ago. And she just whips me up to the apartments. I mean, I believe you can get a shuttle bus as well, but I'd highly recommend Marjorie taxis to anybody. She's absolutely lovely. And actually, a little bit about her. When I first met her, when she rescued me, she was heavily pregnant. And when I saw her last, she was telling me that her 15-month-old daughter was just about to go skiing for the first time. So she's a bit of a star. So anyway, that's a little bit about the journey. Yeah, so I really think I've also, flown Bristol to Geneva a number of times, and it I think if you really consider the true door-to-door travel time, it doesn't really take that much longer. And if you also, especially if I've travelled just me and my son, if you actually do the finances, by the time you spend money on a hire car or, getting a transfer from Geneva, it really actually works out financially favourable to take the train.
Oh, I agree. I totally agree. I've only ever done Eurostar to Calais. I've never gone any further than Calais, and either driven down to the French Alps or across the Swiss Alps or down to Paris, etc. I can imagine how much more part of the holiday it would seem. And also, to update you, something I read yesterday, Eurostar have made a decision to remove the need for people taking the train to be there an hour before. I think it is now as little, it's either 15 minutes or 30 minutes. So it removes that wait you have, in an airport. And I know the wait in the airport tends to be longer, but it could be even more convenient now, basically, even less waiting, more of, show up, wait 15, 20 minutes, and you're basically, on the shuttle on your way down to Paris. And I think that does add a certain je ne sais quoi with regards to being able to incorporate that travel in a much more enjoyable way, rather than it simply be, got to get on a plane, got to work out now how I get to pick up my hire car, got to sit in traffic waiting because it's rush hour or whatever it might be. So you've definitely sold that on me. I'm going to have a chat with Steve to see if we can do that and give, first-hand experience on the podcast of how much we enjoyed that as well.
Yeah. Now, if you do, you need to have a chat with him about, I'm a big fan of Eurostar Plus.
Okay.
So there's 3 different kind of classes on the Eurostar. So you've got standard, then you've got your plus, and then I think you've got your Premier. Well, don't ask me about Premier because that's way out of my budget. But for the plus, you get a bigger seat. You get a light meal kind of served at your seat. You get a glass of wine, and it just makes it really, really lovely. So it's definitely worth looking into. I've tended to kind of book standard on the way out and then kind of have plus on the way home, so that when you're coming home, you've just got that little bit of a nicer kind of experience. And generally find that the price difference isn't that much, especially on the way home. But the key thing is to book it early. So like I plan my trips in advance, so I know when I'm going to be going. So I book those, seats, and then they really are quite reasonable. Like anything, if you leave it to the last minute, then it's very different.
Exactly. You're either not going to get a seat or you're going to be paying more. So that's really useful advice. Thank you very much. So am I right in saying that you rent out your apartment when you're not using it?
Yes, we do. Yes.
And how have you found that experience?
Yeah, no, we found it really good. That what's lovely is that you've got somebody that takes care of everything for you, that you don't have to worry. And that makes a big difference. So, it really is easy because somebody else deals with everything. So you don't have to worry.
Yeah. And has the apartment rented well during the seasons?
Yeah, no, it did. And actually, when I met you and Steve back last year, I remember saying to him how excited I was, for that first season, how well it had, rented. And it was one of the things that originally drew me to the area, because when I was chatting to Steve, he did talk about the high kind of rental, the sort of yield and the amount of weeks that you potentially would get booked. And, and he's definitely right. Certainly, throughout January and February and the beginning of March, it's very, very easy to rent. I think because it's such a French area, it tends to sort of die down a little bit in March, if I'm honest. But I think that will change as the area starts to develop and gets known a little bit more internationally, because I think the French tend to, February, beginning of March is the busy time, isn't it, for them?
Absolutely. Particularly as the French get 2 weeks for half term and they split the country into half. So half the country is on holiday for the first 2 weeks of February. Or I think this year was the first middle 2 weeks of February, and then the other half are on holiday for the last week of February and the first week of March. So that absolutely is the case. And to your point, I know when we were there last year, Easter was very late. And when we were there, I think we were there something like the 10th, 12th of April. The snow was still brilliant. And the only reason they closed the lifts the following Friday or Saturday wasn't because of the snow quality. It was because they need more people to know the snow surety is there later in the season, and therefore they come to the resort to make it worthwhile that they keep the lifts open, because with the snow it could have remained open until the end of April, rather than it was something like the 12th, 13th of April that it actually finished. So you are right, it is that kind of January, February, beginning of March is really, really busy. And then people like us tend to go later on in March, early April, because it is a little bit quieter, basically. But the more it gets known, the more it gets spoken about. And that's exactly what happened back in November, December. I think it was The Guardian or The Telegraph, one or the other, did a big article on Les Sybelles. And that ended up with us getting lots and lots of inquiries from British people and from other people wanting to know more about this resort, because it's done a very, very good job of keeping itself to itself, basically.
Yes. I actually read an article. There was an article in the Telegraph quite recently, as in this ski season.
Yeah.
And I think it was titled something like, "Why do you speak English?" And it was said the ski area forgotten by the British. Which definitely sums it up. But one of the things it also said in there, which was interesting for me, is it talked about it was an area that was best suited to family. It's middle-aged mums who preferred scenery to speed. And I thought, yes, that is me. But equally well, it does work for my speed-loving teenage son. So, it does do something for everybody. But yeah, that was an interesting article.
Absolutely. And I would say exactly the same. Whilst I haven't skied there, I've just watched the boys. Both my teenage sons are, speed monsters. Steve is much more sedate these days. But he loves being able to have that choice. He will sometimes go off with the boys in the morning, and they will do the more what's what I'm looking for, challenging runs. But then he has the ability to do the less challenging runs and not to necessarily be worried that people are flying past him, particularly in some of the bigger resorts when it's much, much busier and you have got people coming at you. I think the beauty about Letizia is plenty of atmosphere, plenty of, people interaction, but you have that choice. The middle-aged mums, us, can enjoy, the whole thing, but also exactly as you said, I know the speeds my boys like to go at, and you don't feel in any way that, you're missing out, because you can do that more challenging run as well. So what is next for you as far as your next opportunity to go to the apartment?
Yeah, well, I'm quite excited. I'm going out fairly soon. And as I've already said, we've tended to go the beginning and the end of the season. So I know that there are runs and there are pistes that I haven't yet explored, because they're not always open, at the very beginning and the very end of the season. So I'm really excited about going out and exploring, some of those areas which I haven't yet skied. So
I think I know how you're going to answer this question, given everything you've said so far. Would you recommend Les Sybelles to people who are listening to this conversation now, are considering buying, a ski property? No, that's not fair to say. Considering buying a property in the French Alps, because some people, as you say, buy it for the skiing and then discover they love everything about every season, whereas some people, and many of our clients, will buy it for the summer season. So the question is, would you recommend somebody purchasing a property in Les Sybelles?
Yeah, no, I definitely would. I mean, I did buy this. This was an investment with my head. The numbers had to stack up, and that's why I think that Letizia and the Les Sybelles ski area ticked the boxes. It could have been that I might have done an investment, somewhere else that might have had slightly higher return. What I mean by that is, a buy-to-let in the UK, or putting my money into the S&P 500. So I'm talking about, from a purely financial point of view. But this area kind of really stacks up, for that investment with a lifestyle. And I know that's sort of similar to your kind of strap line as a business. And that really sums up, my thoughts for the area. And whilst nobody's got a crystal ball, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. I really think with all the developments that Steve's spoken about, the developments in the train line, you can see developments happening the whole time in the area. Absolutely. I'm kind of optimistic that there's a real potential for capital growth in the area. And for that reason, I think it was the right location, for us.
Absolutely. And I think invest in lifestyle is becoming whilst it is our company strapline, as you say, it is becoming a focus for so many more people. You mentioned buy-to-let in the UK. We're having more and more clients coming to us because they're selling their buy-to-let in the UK, for all sorts of reasons around, different regulations, etc., that are happening. And they're recognizing that their money is tied up. They're not getting to enjoy it. We have, a number of clients who've decided not to invest in a normal pension and instead to take out a French mortgage and to buy a property with a view of enjoying it, whilst they can and want to, but getting that long-term capital increase for later in life when they decide to sell, and then that funds basically their future. So I think that the invest in lifestyle is something that more and more people are becoming aware of and want to enjoy their investment and not just have it locked away in something else. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because we're seeing that more and more. So thank you very much for your time today. It's been fantastic having this conversation with you. It's always lovely knowing how clients get on once they have had the opportunity to enjoy their property. And I know that you have very kindly said that if there's anybody who's already bought a property in the resort, and if they would like to reach out to you, come via us. Our contact details are in the show notes, and we will put the two of you together basically so you can have a conversation and you can share experiences.
Yeah, that would be lovely. And even meet up on the slopes might be nice.
Exactly. Have a hot wine somewhere. Thank you very much, Helen. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you very much. It's been lovely.
So that is it for the season. Steve and I both hope you've enjoyed all of the episode we've recorded. Thanks to all our guests throughout the season. And of course, a huge thank you to you, our listeners. We'll be back in the summer with new episodes. But if in the meantime you have any burning questions or a suggestion on what you would like us to cover in future episodes, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Details in the show notes. In the meantime, have a great spring and look forward to talking to you again in the summer. Thanks for listening to the Alpine Property Podcast. If you would like to find out more, please visit our website, Alpine Property Investments, where you can also sign up to our regular email newsletter. If you've enjoyed listening to the podcast, we would love it if you would rate and review it, as this also allows the podcast to be shared more widely too. If you have any questions or comments, please do reach out to us via email. The details, along with our website, can be found in the show notes.